Recording started.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for taking time to attend our Virtual Agent webinar this morning. There's still a couple of people to join, so I'll take you through a very few slides just to give you a bit of an introduction, a bit of background on Kodak, and hopefully by the time we start the demo in about 3 or 4 minutes time that others will have joined. John, you might just jump on to the next slide, please. So on our call today, so this is a joint webinar between Kodak and Microsoft. So on the call today, from our side, we have myself, Larry Tobin. I'm head of public sector in Kodak and have been with Kodak now for 10 years, running our dynamics practice until I've stepped into this new role. John McCormick, who will be the busiest man for the next hour or so, will be doing the demonstration. He's our senior pre-sales consultant. Richard Green is our Power Virtual Agent team lead. Richard is very heavily involved in the projects that we're doing around this space at the moment in Unpust and Department of Agriculture and other projects. And of course, we have Dave Nagel, solution sales specialist for the Biz Apps from Microsoft. So yeah, great, good man, John. So just very quickly, 3 more slides and then I'll stop. So Kodak, some of you may be familiar with Kodak, some of you we wouldn't have necessarily dealt with before. So we're 36 years in business. We're a Dublin-owned, family-owned business with offices in Dublin, Belfast and Galway. 240 employees. Pretty much everybody is involved in some shape or form in the Microsoft stack, but we would have at the moment in excess of 100 certified consultants across all of the Microsoft technologies, and we'll touch on that in a moment. We have a lot of public sector customers, primarily in Dynamics and Power Apps and now Power Virtual Agent, but as I say, we covered the full Microsoft stack. So thanks, John. You might just jump on there to the next one. So yeah, thank you, John. So this is the Microsoft ecosystem at Kodak. So pretty much whatever Microsoft technology you may be using in your organization, Kodak has a goal competency and it has resources that can help you implement those solutions. Obviously today we're focusing in the Biz Apps tab, and we're focusing on the Power Virtual Agent tab. But obviously as John goes through his demo, he does touch on Power Automate, he does touch on Power Apps Portal, he does touch on other areas of the business, but this gives you a quick summary as to pretty much everything that Kodak does. And my last slide is coming up, which is just a very quick snapshot of if you want to jump on there, John, good man. These are just some of the public sector customers that Kodak has worked with over the last 10 years. You can see there the various ones, and I obviously will be sending on these slides at the end, and there's a lot more slides that we have, but I don't want to go through the slides because you're not here to get a PowerPoint presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to my colleague John, who's going to just take you through 2 slides and then we're into the demo. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Brilliant. Thanks, Larry. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be able to have the opportunity to speak to you guys today about Power Virtual Agents. So just before we go into the demonstration, I'd like to just to present to you a quick slide just to explain some of the background behind the Power Virtual Agents and where they sit in the Microsoft Power Platform. So as we know, modern business is changing. Employee and customer expectations are shifting from both an added value perspective. Teams want to minimize repeated tasks, and consumers want to quickly self-serve if they can. Over the past few years, chatbots have become increasingly popular as an answer to these demands, with enhancements and developments along the way. The Power Platform is a singular low-code platform which spans Office 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and other standalone applications. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the Power Virtual Agents, which is the 4th and the newest component of the Power Platform. The Power Virtual Agents will enable us to create bots with a low-code method, and as a result, be able to create we'll be able to create many chatbots for a wide variety of use cases. The Power Virtual Agents can change and improve all areas of an organization or a structure. So it can manage everything from HR and employee relations to customer service, self-service, and automation practices as well. Power Virtual Agents can be published to many sites and channels, which you'll see in this demonstration today. And just before we kick off the live demo, I just want to address some of the various elements that we're going to see throughout the webinar today. To begin, we're going to look at the Power Virtual Agents graphical interface. This is a software as a service solution. So we're going to have a quick look at the interface and discuss the various elements of the interface. Then we'll get into our topics, and we'll look at topics are what manage conversation flow. We will look how we can quickly create topics from FAQs and websites as well. We will then look at how we can develop the conversation pathway. This is all done through natural language techniques. So simple conversation techniques can be implemented throughout within the bot to enhance customer, applicant, or consumer interaction. We'll then look at how we can integrate the bot with APIs using Microsoft Power Automate. We'll extend the bot and then we'll show you how to publish this bot to various channels and types. So in today's webinar, we'll see bots being published to a website, but we'll also see an internal bot hosted within Microsoft Teams. And finally, we're going to look at how we can monitor bot performance and improve the bot over time as well. So without further ado, I'm going to jump on to the live demonstration. Excellent. So as I mentioned, Power Virtual Agents is a software as a service offering. As a result, it allows you to easily sign up, create your bot, and embed it onto a website with just a few clicks. There is very little infrastructure to maintain or complex systems to deploy when beginning with Power Virtual Agents. So as you can see here, I'm on the home page to begin with. Within the Power Virtual Agents interface, I can have many bots. So the two bots I'm going to show today are just a sample bot that's going to be used on a customer or a consumer facing interface. And then we'll look at an employee bot, which is an internal bot to help manage internal business processes, like answering frequently asked questions put to people departments or HR departments. So the primary element and the primary entity of Power Virtual Agents is the topic. In Power Virtual Agents, topic represents the paths that customers can be taken on while interacting with a bot. The topic that is used and the path that is followed within an individual topic is in response to the data that is entered by customers in the conversation panel. Topics are the primary elements that dictate how conversations flow within Power Virtual Agents. Topics can be authored in a number of ways. To begin, the topic can be created by simply selecting the blank canvas. Starting a topic from scratch will give you an option on how you'd like the conversation path to flow, naturally and using natural language techniques. Provided templates are also a useful way of creating topics, as it provides a standard layout of conversation paths and of conversation pathways to make topic creation very, very easy. I'd also like to suggest that the suggested topics feature is a great way of bringing topics into the Power Virtual Agent. The suggested topics feature generates topics from your own FAQ page, which can then be edited and used to create bots very quickly. All we have to do here is insert the HTTP link of the targeted page, and the suggested topics are automatically generated. These suggested topics can be converted into existing topics that can then be used by the bot. And this is an example of the intelligent AI in action when working with Power Virtual Agents. So I simply posted the Microsoft FAQ page within this link, and as a result, I got 56 suggested topics automatically generated from our source HTTP link. When we select this, we get an idea of, we get our trigger phrases and an initial message that the bot will return. But we can obviously enhance this to make this a more engaging experience for an individual. So now I'll just pop back over to our existing topics and I'll open up an example topic. So it's important to note that Power Virtual Agents topics consist of two primary elements. The first is trigger phrases, And these are phrases, keywords, or questions that are entered by users and relate to a specific issue. The other element is conversation nodes. And conversation nodes are the individual elements which define how a bot should respond and what it should respond and what it should do based on the user's input. So we can see here our trigger phrases, and we can easily upload these to manage the various different entry points to a conversation. So the bot is aware and can use the natural language parsing to understand what topic is being triggered by the customer. As the customer enters information, the bot uses AI and natural language understanding to parse what the customer is typing and then to find the most appropriate trigger phrase or node. So for example, if a user enters, I would like to know the status of my application into the bot, the Power Virtual Agent could match parts of the text, such as status or application, to return a topic that includes those items as trigger phrases. So I will now select to go to Author in Canvas, and it is here where we can design the topic's conversation path. So after a topic has been loaded, different conversation nodes in the topic are used to control and define the path that the customer will take during the conversation. By default, when a new topic is created, the trigger phrases and a simple message node are inserted automatically, and these can just be seen at the top of the screen in the interface here. You can add additional nodes by selecting the plus icon that appeared between the branches or lines before or after each node. When adding a node, you can choose from 5 options. Each option has a specific node or nodes that will be inserted into the conversation path. So a Power Virtual Agent can be programmed to ask a question and define how the question can be answered. This might be a simple yes, no, or a multiple choice question. Power Virtual Agent can also be programmed to call an action. This will trigger a Power Automate flow. Bots that can chat with your users are great, but bots that can act on their behalf are even better. So with the Power Virtual Agents, you can easily integrate with services and backend systems out of the box or through hundreds of easy to add custom connectors using Power Automate. This makes it simple to create a bot that not only responds to your customer, but takes action on their behalf. The message nodes that can be entered will allow a bot creator to enter the text text that they would like the bot to say. This text box, using this text box, you can apply standard. You can apply some basic formatting such as bold, italics, numbering lists, but we can also use variables that are captured throughout the bot as well. And finally, the last 2 topics that I'd like to address are the go to another topic node. This node automatically has the bot move to a separate topic if the conversation needs it. So if an open-ended question is asked, the bot will be able to recognize that this is potential for a moving from between one topic to another. And finally, the end conversation node. The end conversation node triggers a survey that appears at the end of that asks the user if their question or issue was answered. If the question was resolved correctly, this information is collected under the customer satisfaction analytics page. You can also have the conversation handed over to a live agent if you're using a suitable customer service portal. I've also included this in today's demo, so this would be I have a great example to show you as well. So now I'm going to run through a simple conversation path in the test panel. So this window here that you see on the left-hand side of the screen is our test panel, which illustrates how a customer might interact with a bot to discover the status of a recent application that they have submitted. So in this case, our customer has submitted an online application and has retrieved an application number. So what our customer wants to do is they're going to log on to they're going to query the bot, provide the application number that they were provided, and return a status that's stored in an external database. So first we can initiate the conversation. This will trigger a greeting topic. The bot will then reply using a predefined greeting topic and ask how it can help today. The customer will then answer that they would like to track an application. So the bot recognizes this and it triggers a predefined topic using our trigger phrases. So we can watch how this conversation is progressing on the right-hand side of the screen. So the bot notices and recognizes the topic and triggers the first question. They're requesting the person's name. So I'll give my name as an example, John. The bot then returns a message note thanking me using the variable that I provided for my first name and then asks for a surname. These individual elements will be used to reference and make sure that the application is routed to the correct user. Now that I've provided my surname, you can see that we're using our variables that we gathered within the conversation pathway to display information to the bot, making it a dynamic experience, but also very personal for the individual user being interacted with. So it's now asking for our application number. I'm going to provide the application number. What's happened here, an action node has been triggered, and this individual input has triggered a Power Automate flow. This Power Automate flow takes an application number, initializes the variable, and create and searches through a record within our database. We will search for the application number of this record and return it back into the bot using Power Automate. Power Automate is a low-code workflow automation tool. It sits beside Power Virtual Agents on the Power Platform. It allows us to create low-code workflows and so that a user can easily piece together a piece of automated technology that can be used to enhance all elements of the Microsoft Power Platform, be it Power BI, Dynamics. So after we entered our number, the application was triggered, and we can see that based on the input of the application number and the user's individual name, we can return values that are related to this particular application. So based on the application number, we can see that the application was submitted on the 10th of the 5th at 3:41. The status is approval pending, and the expected date of completion has also been provided to the customer. The bot will then ask the individual if this has helped with their inquiry. We can just say yes for now. And what happens here is that an end of conversation, so this trigger will trigger an end of conversation node. So we can say that it answered our question, and then the bot will ask us to rate their experience. So we can select, yep, that answered my question, thank you very much. So when we provide insight, when we provide feedback to the bot, this is used to generate metrics and understanding and develop analytics to help us improve bots and topic productivity for our individual customers. So it's this rating experience is what gives us feedback when running through our bot. So now that we've seen the conversation path and how it works, we can look at how bots are deployed onto various channels. The first step, after we create our conversation path by adding in certain variables, is we have to publish our bot. So I can select the publish bot, and then we select manage channels. So when we select our managed channels, we can see the various channels that are available to distribute our bot on. With Power Virtual Agents, you can publish bots to engage with your customers on multiple platforms or channels. As I mentioned earlier, these include live websites, mobile apps, messaging platforms like Microsoft Teams and Facebook Messenger. We can also use our bots on the likes of WhatsApp via Twilio. After you've published after we've published our bot to one of our channels, we can update it again. After we've published our bot to a channel, if we want to make changes, we can simply publish it again, and the bot will automatically route the updates through the Active Directory to the channel that it's being deployed on. So as an example of how I published this bot, for this particular example, I've published the Power Virtual Agent on a Power Apps portal. But as you've seen, of course, this bot can be deployed on any on a website either. The Power Virtual Agent sits in the bottom right-hand corner of this portal or website. Its appearance can be customized to fit your organization's branding or needs. The bot can greet a customer in many ways as well. The bot can either initiate the conversation with the customer, or it can wait patiently for the customer to ask for assistance. The greetings that the bot provides can be edited within the Power Virtual Agent's topic generator. So we can go in there and change how the bot will interact with an individual based on its behavior. So if a bot was aware of what page an individual was on, it can trigger a conversation based on the information on that page. But if it's going to wait patiently like this guy here, it will just trigger a standard greeting. So when I open the bot, it will say, "Hi, I'm a virtual agent and I can help you track an application, learn more about services, or answer FAQs." So I'm going to run through the status application example again, but this time I'm going to request help from an agent. This could be because I'm unhappy or with how it's processing, how my application is processing. So I trigger, I would like to track an application, and once again the bot will ask how they would like me, they will help me with this, but I have to provide my name. So I'll provide my name. So what's happening now while this is loading, the Power Automate flow is triggered, returning the information from our third-party data storage. Our external data storage, and we get a breakdown of our submission. So we can see that, look, it's not due. The data completion is tomorrow. So in this case, we're not happy with this. It hasn't helped us with our query. We need to know more about our application. So I'm going to request a transfer to a live agent. So I've now switched to Omnichannel for customer service. And Omnichannel for customer service is an interface that's used when we've connected our agent to a Power Virtual agent. So a live human agent to a Power Virtual agent. When a customer requests to speak to a human agent, this is the interface that will be used by the customer service representative. A notification will appear on the agent screen, and if the agent had many of these chats, they would sit in their work item queue. So we could manage the requests in a queue format. So I'm going to accept this live chat right now. So from this interface that's just loaded, we can see the chat window, and the chat dialog has also been retrieved from Power Virtual Agents. So we can see all the customers' interactions with the virtual agent from here and get better context to the individual conversation that's appearing. At the top of the chat widget, we can see the customer sentiment, which will change as the customer sentiment is recognized within the chatbot. So we can say, if we put a slightly negative comment in, like, "I am very unhappy about this," we can see that within our Omnichannel, we can see that the customer sentiment has gone to slightly negative. Within this interface, there's also many agent tools built in. So we have our quick replies, which allow us to trigger quick replies to the customer, like an initial greeting to inform them that they're speaking with the live agent, and also some other touch points like live questions. But the other very useful metric is that we can also converse with other agents that are logged into our service. So if we are unable to help the particular customer, or if it was with the wrong department, we can transfer and consult with another agent. We can add them to the conversation, and we can have internal communications with this individual while trying to resolve or come to terms with the customer's issue. It's also important to note that we can also make notes. So we can make notes of this conversation and store it within our Dynamics 365 instance or another customer engagement platform if we use it. We can also use the Omnichannel for customer service to create new records within our Dynamics 365 instance, or, as I said, any other engagement platform. We can manage new cases and see these accounts come through. This conversation summary will be stored, and we have a token to this saved within our interface as well. As a customer progresses through this, we can see the sentiment change, and it's important to note when we're doing this, when we have our customers progressing within, and we have a series of agents working with live chat features, a manager will be able to get an overall view of the conversations dashboard. So this is a manager's view, where they're able to view all ongoing conversations, and they can monitor these conversations based on the sentiment value. For example, they can jump in and help out with the customer issues based on the various how the conversation's going as well. The intraday dashboard, it gives us a bit of insight to how our individual live agents are performing. and how the chats are progressing over the course of the day, so we can get a breakdown to see the average wait time per conversation and any conversation exceeding 5 minutes. We get a great breakdowns and in-depth understanding of how our bots are performing, what topics are performing and what aren't. So I'm going to switch back to the portal quickly, so where our customer was conversing, and I want to show you how a customer can receive chat transcript. So it's really important that a customer can request all information from us that they've conversed with. So the Power Virtual Agent built into this portal has been equipped with the ability to download a chat transcript. So you can see I just triggered it here, and on open, the customer can get a copy of the full conversation that has just happened. Also, customer can request this to be emailed to them by simply entering their email here, and a workflow that's built in will trigger this email to be sent to the customer that contains detail of the chat transcript. Now, I'm going to go back to the Power Virtual Agents, and I'm just going to switch to a different bot. So this is an employee FAQ bot. As I mentioned earlier, with Power Virtual Agents, you can publish bots to engage with your customers or employees on multiple platforms or channels. So these include obviously live websites like we just seen in portals. Power Virtual Agents can also improve internal processes, and this is the element that I want to address next. Bots can be created and added to Microsoft Teams as apps. So I'm going to go to my topics, and we're going to just quickly have a look at a bot that I've created. And this is a simple book a desk bot, but also this internal employee bot could hold lots of information relating to holidays, holiday procedure within an organization, or any new employee onboarding information that can be provided. They can all be managed through the conversation topics. But this simple conversation, we're going to discuss how we can book a desk. The bot will ask the individual for their first name, their surname, and their email address. We'll provide this live information using variables, so we can get that unique personal experience, and they'll ask for what date they'd like to reserve a desk. We'll also then ask for which office location they would like to book a desk in. It will ask a question to determine whether or not the individual has experienced any COVID-19 symptoms. If yes, it will explain that we cannot book a desk because you've experienced these symptoms in the last 3 days. But if they haven't, we can trigger an action that will take the name of the employee, it will take their email address, the date that they want to book the desk for, the office location, and also if they've experienced COVID-19 symptoms. They will take this information and create a record within a third-party database. So for this example, I've used Dynamics 365. It will create a record in Dynamics 365 and then confirm to the customer or to the employee at the end that the desk has been reserved for them in the location and the date at this time. So this particular chatbot has been deployed within Microsoft Teams. So employees or internal bots can be simply added to Microsoft Teams for individuals to query or discuss with. So I can simply say to this bot, I would like to book a desk. So once again, the bot will look at the various elements of the input that I just put in. It would recognize the topic and trigger the topic based on this. So it's asking me for my name. It will ask me for my email address. And it will ask me for what date I would like to reserve a desk. So I'm going to say the 13th, 5th. After we input the date, it will ask, I'll just say our Cork office. And we haven't experienced any COVID-19 symptoms. So then the bot will confirm to us when the record is created that a desk has been reserved for us in the Cork office on the particular date. once again, we'll say that it will ask us if that answered our question. For this example, we'll say yes, and we'll rate our experience. So we'll give it a 4-star experience. So this is just an example of how bots can be extended to multiple different channels and be intelligent enough to by using the conversation and the conversation pathways and topic generation tool to isolate customer or employee queries and really point the customer to the employee to the right answer very easily and fast. The Microsoft Teams extending Microsoft Teams with a bot to help employees is really a great plus in today's climate, especially with the accelerating shift towards remote work around the world. So there's a huge surge in virtual communication and conversations between businesses and their employees. So this is just an example of a bot, but Teams can you can use bots in Teams to help employees with lots of common issues, whether it's a HR bot, a payroll bot. It can also we can also use a bot that can help answer about pay stubs, back to work FAQs, a lot more. And obviously, since Teams is inherently conversational and it's natural and intuitive for Teams users to chat with these virtual representations, it's a really great fit for most organizations that use communication channels like Microsoft Teams. So what I would like to now quickly switch back to the Power Virtual Agents interface. We're going to select our initial bot that we use for the start of the conversation, and now I would like to move back and access the analytics made available so we can monitor and improve our bot's performance. Brilliant. Let's give this a moment just to load. So Power Virtual Agents lets you keep an eye on how your bots are performing. This is done using powerful metrics and AI-driven dashboards. So from here, we can easily see the topics that are doing well and also the topics where a bot can improve and quickly adjust we can then quickly adjust these topics to improve bot performance. So you can see the major topic we're looking at is the application status. We can see its click-through rate and the impact that it's had. So this particular dashboard illustrates how a Power Virtual Agent gives you a real-time view of data, such as how many people interact with your chatbot over time, the percentage of those interactions that end successfully, the percentage of those interactions that result in escalation to a human agent, or whichever ones were, whether or not these topics were abandoned. We can also see which topics are executed most often. And also we can see the requests that a user has made that our chatbot was unable to discuss or address. So the Chatbot Analytics help you to improve the experience of the people using your chatbot. You can learn, so you can learn, for example, where you need to add new trigger phrases, or even if you need to create a new topic to fully address the needs of your individual customers. So this is basically by looking at the abandon rates and seeing where exactly the conversations have fallen off, we can check and manage the topics and update the information as a result. We can also look at our customer satisfaction breakdown, so we can see the satisfaction drivers. So we can, from this particular topic, we can see the engaged sessions, the resolution rate, the abandon rate, and we can drill into this information to get more information. So the abandon rate, we can see our CSAT score, and also we can get our service responses over time. So we can see that 10 of the 11 conversations had provided feedback through our bot. And then we can see how our CSAT score is improving over time. So obviously this is a much shorter window, but if we had a longer period of time, we can query it using the various tools available. So if I set this to the first and update, we can see that our CSAT score has changed based on this particular time frame. So we can manage and make reports on these times accordingly as we need and as we see fit. Just before I wrap up this part of the demonstration, I'd love to just to do a quick summary of the various elements that we've seen. So and in really important points. So the Power Virtual Agents interact with users through a natural language interface. So the Power Virtual Agents, so based on customer or user input, the bot will recognize the text using AI and produce topics or outcomes as a result. So the PVA interacts with the users through the natural language interface. The Power Virtual Agents is a software as a service solution that enables anybody to create and update chatbots or virtual agents, which will also help reduce costs and improve customer satisfaction by providing automated responses to common requests. Creating and maintaining bots has traditionally been difficult, but I hope you can see after this demonstration today how Power Virtual Agents can reduce some of the major pain points when it comes to bot building. And that's it from me today, guys. Larry, I'm going to pass back over to you so we can manage the next part of the webinar. Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much indeed, John. Yeah, just maybe if I could, is there any questions from our attendees? Because the next speaker will be Dave Nagel from Microsoft. But I just thought we'd take a breather for a moment to see if there was any particular questions that people had for us.
There's a question there, Larry, in the panel there. If there are multiple people in the background responding to queries, are the escalated queries automatically assigned or are they taken from a queue? If they are automatically assigned, how is this done, i.e. load balancing, round robin, etc.?
Yeah, now I don't know whether Richard Green has joined us yet. Richard, are you on the line?
No, Larry, I don't think he is.
No, he was obviously having some difficulties. I don't know whether Dave Nagel or John can answer that one, or is it one that we might...
Yeah. Oh, I can address it. So in terms of routing questions to the right agent.
Yeah, the questions there in the panel, if there are multiple people in the background responding to queries, are the escalated queries automatically assigned or are they taken from a queue?
Yeah, so they're automatically assigned if there are multiple people. So each individual agent has a capacity of how many conversations they can manage at once. But in general, we use skill routing. So based on the topic, we can associate it to an individual based on their skill set. So that's how the conversations are routed to individual users.
Thanks, John. There's another one in there now. Can the bot be published on a specific web page rather than for an entire website? That's from Charlene.
Yeah, so that is a feature. So the bot, when we go to publish a bot and publish it on a channel, we can include the source code just for it to be available on a single web page rather than an entire website. So what happens here is, for example, we can get our code snippet and we can include that individual piece of script onto a web page, and we can anchor it on an individual web page. So just to note, when I was demonstrating this, I just displayed the bot on an overall portal, but the bot can be aware of an individual page. So if an individual was looking at the how to apply section for an example application, the bot will be ready to speak to them about simply that how to apply for this scheme. But just like you said, yes, the bot can be deployed on a single web page rather than a website.
There's also one or two other questions there, John. Are there known spam risks with the use of PVAs?
Not that I'm aware of, but we can always come back to that if it's required. In terms of spamming rates or click-through rates, depending on the sort of information that you're making available to them, but normally when you're just progressing through a conversation pathway, there would be very little information or spamming that can interact or damage your topic conversation flow. But I would like to, even if maybe we could address that question in an email if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Thanks, John. Larry here. No, unfortunately, my colleague Richard is having some issues, but Richard is in the cold face out there in some of the customers I mentioned earlier, like on Post have their what they call their Oscar bot, which is going great guns, and agriculture are looking at chatbots as well. So what I might do, if it's okay, is we can get some live information from Richard, because he's working on a project that's been live now for quite some time. So it'd be interesting to see if they've had that particular issue. But so maybe what we'll do at the end is we can respond back to everybody on the questions, because the plan is to try and follow up today with some additional information and including the presentation we're about to get from Dave from Microsoft. We will obviously make all of this information available, and I'll pass on my contact details if you have any particular questions that you want to ask after the webinar. Was there one more, Sinead, just before we hand over to Dave?
There is another one in there, all right, from Eileen. In Power Automate, when creating a list to populate a SharePoint list from a response, one of the fields in the form is a choice box with yes and no. In Power Automate create item, how to get the contacts of the field into the list, as in a yes or no answer.
How do we get the contacts into it?
Again, it might be better, to be fair, it might be better to take that one offline, because it might require some, because what we can obviously do, guys, is we can have a follow-up conversation with anybody on this call, but I'm conscious of people's time. So would it be okay, Eileen, if we respond to that one offline and allow Dave Nagel to jump in? Obviously, Eileen isn't online, but if that's okay with everybody, that might be rather than putting John on the spot.
Yeah, we can address that one separately. Yeah,
I'm just trying to read it.
Right, so John, if you, I'm not sure if you need to do any.
Yeah, I'm going to pass over to Dave now.
I'm going to pass over to Mr. Nagel from Microsoft.
Your screen is up and live now, Dave. You're just on mute at the moment.
Hi everybody, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you nice and clearly, David.
Okay. So that's Kilkee in the background. So if anybody's thinking about holidaying in Ireland, you're more than welcome to come to Kilkee. Hope you can see my screen now.
Super.
Is that okay? Can you see my screen?
Perfect. Yep.
Great. Listen, thanks, John. Thank you for giving a really good demonstration on the Power Virtual Agent. I think it was quite useful that you showed a number of channels, within Teams and also externally on a website. Just one point, I shared a link. You can set up just one of the technical questions that was asked around routing. You can define the routing rules, so you can route to a queue, or you can route to specific users based on skills, or you can route based on various different parameters that you set up. So when the PVA switches to the contact center, you can leave it on a queue, or you can assign it whichever way you want. It's up to you to define the routing rules. I just wanted to add to that. And look, I've just 10 minutes, so I'll just try and go through this quickly, but if you have any questions, maybe we'll keep them to the end. I think that's just for everybody on the call. It's something that everybody's aware of. Digital transformation is accelerating. It's particularly now that we've been in COVID. It's the digital transformation is supporting how we overcome the crisis, and from a commercial perspective, maybe stay ahead of the competition. But I just wanted to share this survey because it's important, that to understand that, look, it's the digital transformation because of COVID is affecting public sector, and public sector are responding. Some of the accounts that we are working with in Ireland, I've seen, fantastic teamwork with the IT and within the business to drive the transformation, to support the citizens. I think too, in particular, have to be called out, the work that the Department of Social Protection have done with their transformation and supporting the PUP payments out to people that really needed it at a time of crisis. Paying out over 10 billion in the last, I don't know, 12 months or a little bit after. They couldn't have done this without using the technologies that we're seeing today, the Power Virtual Agent, Power Apps, capabilities like this, to support this transformation, really, but to help citizens. But it is becoming more urgent because, this is the way forward. This ability to support citizens, to support customers in a digitized way, is here to stay, and it is accelerating. And I don't know, it'd probably be interesting to get your views on it maybe afterwards to understand, is this impacting yourselves? But there are challenges underneath that. While governments worldwide, and this is research that I'm providing information on here and gathered by external parties, but also in Microsoft. And what we're seeing is that governments are embracing technology to empower their workforce, yes, to work from home, yes, to engage with citizens, but also to deliver virtual services and to ensure continuity of operations. And I think that is the norm. That is what we're seeing happen here. And this accelerator of digital transformation will help ensure the new norm for government operations and services moving forward. And there are a number of pillars that are impacted and that underpin this transformation. There's challenges around security compliance, data, responding to the crisis, funding the recovery and empowering the civil servants. But I wanted today just focus in on just this element of citizen services. And the key part about this, I want to explore that area. The citizens communications channel that will need to deliver up-to-date information as quick as possible for an effective crisis response, for an important response, I think is important. I mean, we see it. I'll give you an example of this. There's nothing worse than to go onto a website of a chatbot that responds with kind of just basic information and you go nowhere after it. I think what John has outlined is that there is the ability that the virtual agent can only give you so much, but when you come to the end of it, it's important to have that ability to hand over to the contact center to speak to a live agent. There's nothing worse to be dealing with a problem. It infuriates the citizen, infuriates the customer. They're challenged with getting the answers. So when they do get to talk to the agent, when they do talk to your employees, problems then escalate because the customer satisfaction is poor and it impacts that relationship with the employee, and it affects the employee too because it's exacerbated the problems. So it's important that when you are looking at communication channels that you think of it from not just the technology but that end-to-end process, and that customer experience is key. I think the second piece that I'd like to explore is that the digital services, when they are known, increasing numbers of citizens are willing to consume them. I suppose it's the old build it and they will come analogy, but this is underpinned by research. If we look at some of the research around this, and I've just picked, there's three, but or four elements here, but I just wanted to pick the citizen engagement. And this is research from McKinsey and the CX company. It's an Irish company, CX company. If you look at their report, it's quite interesting on what they've outlined around the Irish public sector from a CX perspective has dropped to 9th place in the latest CXI survey. But specifically, I want to talk to that point of build it and they will come. 78% of citizens, and this has been the survey was rolled across 6,500 survey results across Europe and Canada. But 78% of citizens see the benefits of using virtual agents, and 47% would like to receive services. They would like to receive assistance from chatbots from government agencies. Now that's very interesting. That's saying if you're not doing it, well, the citizens are willing to embrace this technology. So why wouldn't you? I suppose I'm laying out the challenge. Why wouldn't you not look at this if this is the stats that are coming back? And not only to challenge yourself, why would you? But let's look at what it would do for you. Let's look at what it would do for the organization. We believe that if you enable the virtual agents, they will contribute to the value you create. You know, it is a low cost service that you can adopt quickly. It will improve customer satisfaction. It will enhance your business process efficiencies, reducing your costs. And I think more so, if you look at it on the right-hand side, what will it do for you? Well, it will enable you to do 7/24 access to information and services. So some of your services are not 7/24 at the moment, but it allows you to create that 7/24. It will improve the first time call resolution. And this is important. This is why, you know, I know Larry mentioned a couple of customers that are using, one in particular that's using it, but they specifically used it because of the volume of calls they were getting on their contact center around October, November time and December, when it spiked, and the amount of parcels that had to be delivered and people wanted to know where their information was and where their parcel was. This enabled them to reduce the amount of calls that were coming on to the service desk, and really help them reduce the cost, because otherwise they were employing other additional people on the contact center in their help desks to support these questions. I think it enables a faster response time for citizens to get their answers answered quickly. And it improves the staff productivity and efficiencies, but it also improves their wellness. Because if you have agents, virtual agents that are dealing with problems efficiently, and you can switch over to them, the customer's coming in a better condition. You can see, as John has outlined, the sentiment analysis, so you know what's coming at you. There's nothing worse to have a kind of a dummy bot out there that's not providing information, or that the website, the FAQ, is frustrating the citizen, and they come onto the contact center, the call center, and they're irate and they're challenged with their problems because it impacts on, you know, the well-being of your staff member. So I think it's important from that perspective. And then finally, as John has outlined, it reduces the IT development time. John just spun up these two bots in a matter of days. So you can do that as well. You know, and I think just to recap then, if we look at the business scenarios that you could look at it, John outlined the core opportunities. He showed you engaging seamlessly over conversations with users. We can increase customer service and your HR efficiencies. You can deploy these bots anywhere. And this is what we're seeing. This is kind of goes to the next two slides, is the next two areas. Is where do I deploy it first? Do I deploy it to my customer first, or should I deploy it to my employees first? And it depends on the challenges, but more and more we're seeing people deploy the bot, as John has outlined. If you've deployed Teams, to maybe look at deploying the bot within the Teams channel to answer internal FAQs. You can put it on, you know, SharePoint or websites or Oracle databases or SQL databases to answer questions both internally and externally. But why would you not look at Teams? And the reason why I say that is it gives you an area, playground area, because you can do it within a group of people to implement your bot. And the point that I make at the bottom piece here, which is in red, is the Power Virtual Agent is provided at no cost within Teams. So you can set up FAQs with the Power Virtual Agent answering and supporting them at no cost. So why would you not do it and look at this within Teams? There is a cost if you want to deploy to customers. If you want to deploy to customers on individual web pages or on your website, like, you know, OscarBot is out there in the Unpust website, or if you were looking to put it on, you know, other areas within your organization, maybe you've SharePoint, or maybe you've other databases or web pages that you're using internally, and you want to support a bot there. So I would ask you to maybe look at implementing the bots specifically, maybe for within Teams for your employees, and also have a look at it from where there might be areas that you could drive better customer experience to support, you know, how it impacts your operational efficiencies in-house. And I think, you know, where would you go from here? Where would I go from here if I were a customer looking at this? We have a framework that we call Catalyst. It's effectively a methodology on how we engage across projects. But I would encourage you to work with Kodak, that they are a partner that are trained in the Catalyst program, and to look at the first step. And the first step I've boxed here is an envisioning workshop. We're happy to do envisioning workshops with you that we can inspire and look at some of your challenges. You know, we can explore whether Teams or whether your website, and a bit like what John has done there, he took some samples, he implemented some FAQs internally in the bot, and he massaged the bot to get the right outcomes from the customer. If you want to look at this within a quick period of time, then I would encourage you to reach out to Larry and to John and the team, and we will support from a Microsoft perspective to help you deliver some envisioning workshops before you set out on that roadmap of going on to do, you know, an assessment of your business value, then to look at the solution and then do demonstrations. And then it's what we call deep crafting, is to make a proper business case internally to either use our technology and to implement it. So with that, I'd like to open it up to questions or hand it back to Larry for a wrap up.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Dave. We'll give people an opportunity just to, if they want to ask some questions, but thank you very much for that presentation. I'm not sure, Sinead, is there anybody, has there been any more further questions since the last one? And again, we will definitely get back to the last question that Eileen answered, but I'm conscious of people's time. We're pretty much just bang on schedule for the hour, so I think we should call it at that. Let people get back to their day job. Obviously, what we will do at some point today is we've been recording the presentation and the demonstration, so we'll send out a link to the recording, and we'll also send out Dave's deck, and we'll send out expanded decks that John and I would have had, but we didn't include them in this morning's webinar. So again, a huge thank you for all of your time. If you, my email address is ltobin@kodak.ie. If it's okay with everybody, I will drop you a note at some point today just to thank you and to send on some additional information. So I think we can call it at that, guys, and thank you all very much for your time.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
God bless. Thank you. And John, you can just stop the recording.